Hello, guys. Welcome to another exciting edition of the podcast. Today, I am being joined by Jarus, who is the visionary founder of Jarus Home, a leading property development firm with major projects across Nigeria. He holds a first-class degree in economics from Obafemi Awolowo University, an MBA from Edinburgh Business School, and he recently graduated from London School of Economics, where he holds a certificate in real estate economics and finance. Jarus has held key roles at Rwando PLC, Seven Energy, Savannah Energy, and PwC. He is also the founder of Jarus Travel Services and First Road Consulting, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, and an associate of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Jarus is passionate about football and knowledge sharing through social media. Thank you very much, Jarus, for joining me today. How are you doing?
Hi, Ameen, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Obviously, you're someone who is well known on the Nigerian political space, real estate space, and a couple of these industries. But I don't want to begin from that. I would like to understand what sort of your early context was. What was it like growing up pre your days of OAU or pre-professional career? I wanted to get a bit of background into the kind of person you were growing up.
Okay, so thanks so much, Ameen, once again. I grew up in Offa, Kwara State, which is, a relatively small town compared to cities. And so I attended a private primary school and a public secondary school. And I had limited exposure, given the fact that for the first 8 years of my life, I never had any cause to spend more than 2 or 3 days outside of work, and I had limited exposure. And there was no internet that time where you could sit anywhere and get access to what's happening across the world. But I still was very conversant with what's happening outside through newspapers. Started reading newspapers at a quite early age. Also listen to news and listen to others. And so that was what my growing up was. I had a couple of people who were successful that I looked forward to. And in a way, I found myself in OAU once, September 5 to be precise. And started with that. That was my first day in OAU. And I studied economics. I was fortunate to finish 5 years later with the first class degree. Thereafter, I moved to Sokoto State for my 1 year compulsory mandatory NYSC service. After that, I returned to Lagos and 8, where I got my first job in the oil and gas industry, Rwando PSC to be precise. While during my NYSC days, so yes, I started my ICANN exam, which is just to keep myself busy rather than just because I was teaching the secondary school, in a primary school, sort of in Sokoto, and I felt like, well, I had enough time on me, and let me just get something to keep me busy beyond what I was doing. So I enrolled for ICANN exam, which is the professional exam for accountants, and I became a chartered accountant. I got a job in Rwando, and I had from there I moved to another company called Seven Energy. Later, Seven Energy, a British company, bought part of the company, and I joined them. And altogether, I had 40 years experience in the oil and gas industry before I had 1 year experience in PwC as a senior manager. And after that, I decided to start my own business and focus on it fully, and that's what I do now. Thank you.
Interesting. There's a lot to pick from there, but I'd like to take it back a little before we talk about your professional days and some of the things that you learned in your profession. Growing up as someone who is obviously quite brilliant and intelligent, you talked about the fact that you went to a commercial class in your secondary school when you finished your junior secondary and going to the commercial class. Was it because you already knew what you wanted to do at that point? You knew you wanted to be an accountant or an economist, or was it something you were just pushed into without sort of necessary guidance?
Okay. So in my JS3 exams, my what's called JS3 exams, science class, but I felt like I was more suited for. I never knew, my intention was not to be an accountant or anything, but I felt like I wanted to play to my strength because I knew that I was better when it comes to writing, when it comes to long stories, when it comes to subject like that, like commerce, like government, like economics, and all of these things. And I felt like I was more fitting for myself to continue in science class simply because of peer pressure, simply because people would believe that the best students should be in commercial class, should be in science class rather. So yes, so it's not that I had that thing I wanted to do, but I was just playing to my strength, realizing that, okay, you know what, I think you're more fit into it's subjects that have to do with writing. Of course, I still there to do accounting, which was calculation based. I knew that dealing with accounting, I find my way around it rather than having to deal with most subjects that are, calculation in form. So that was essentially what informed my change from science student to commercial student after just one term in SS1.
Also, you did spend the time in science class before going. It was nice.
I think I'm more suited for subjects that make me
Aligns
to
more.
write long stories and all of these things, which was what commercial and arts were.
And so going past your secondary school now, I'd like to know a little bit about your university days. What was it like for you in uni? Graduating with the first class from OAU, which is obviously one of the Ivy League universities in Nigeria. What was it like for you, and how did you achieve that?
Okay. In all honesty, when I got in, I was skeptical. I mean, I was because I felt like I was coming from Kwara State. I attended a public secondary school, and yeah, I found myself in the midst of people who finished from top schools in Lagos and Ibadan. The ISI, King's College, the Queen's College of this world, a lot of top private schools in Lagos. I felt like, I came from Offa, and how was I going to compete with these people? But I had good orientation, which really helped me. I had guys like the economics, all the notes I needed, A in all my courses except one. So I ended that semester with 4.8, so GPA, and I felt like, this is what everybody is talking about. I had A in all of my courses. Second semester, I put in more effort. I had 5 points in that semester. My cumulative point 4.9, and at that time, I felt like, I go tap on CBI, like, so this thing is possible. So at that point, I became a little bit more convinced that I could make it, and my doubt, began to wane. I had some shocks. For example, in first semester, Sunday level, I think I had one D1 course and maybe a couple of C1 or two, but but I was still able to stage a comeback. And at some point, I got to very comfortable that I knew that I was going to make that first class. After my year 3, I knew I was going to make that first class, regardless of the grades I made in all the courses I was meant to do in final years. So that was my experience in IFE from an academic standpoint. I was quite involved in a number of other things as well. I was taking tutorials, teaching students. I've always enjoyed teaching people, and that's part of what I do online today. Take junior ones, them on their careers. I was doing this in IFE as well. Those were the things I was quite involved in IFE, and all of them were complementary because I was also I had some popularity among my students, and I also, teaching other people also kept me in solid academic form, and as well as, of course, I needed to face my own study as well. So that was my journey through OAU, and to God be the glory, I, was able to make that first class eventually.
Interesting. So still on OAU, did you think getting a first class from OAU had an impact on your trajectory moving forward post uni? Did you think even without the first class, would you still be in the same position you were here, you are today?
Nice question. Unfortunately, I can't tell, but I think I'm in the sense that it boosted my confidence. That if I could do it, I competed with 200 students in class. I was part of the top in class, and that gave me more confidence that every endeavor in life, job tests, job interviews, everywhere you find yourself, I could compete favorably. So that gave me some sort of confidence, and also I think it looks good on my CV. Actually, where I threw my CV in. They were inviting me for tests for tests in particular, and given the preparation that I had, I was scaling most of the tests. So I would say it really added some value, to my starting. And I'm not saying that 2-1 could also have gotten a lot of these things because most times when they combine, but at least if I could, make it first class, then I think I could also maybe beat the student that couldn't make it in the interviewing and testing stages of job. So I think it was really helpful for where I am today. I will not say it's automatic that anybody that makes a first class is going to do very fine in life. There were a number of 2-1 students in my class that are doing better than I am today. But the most important thing is that it really helped me to it really still looks good on my profile. As we're reading my profile, first class, and people generally tend to pay more attention to those things. So it's a good thing to have, not necessarily some sort of magic wand that's going to turn your life into some sort of Eldorado, but I think it really helped me. And most times, it looks good on my CV, it looks good on my profile, gives me some confidence to, approach some things. And yeah, this is my experience with it. So I would say it played a part in me being where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So generally, you would advise anyone still in uni watching this, if you can make a first class, go for it.
Exactly. Please do. I mean, it's really nice, if you could go for it. If you don't make it at the end of the world, but if you could go for it, I think it could help your life.
So moving forward a little bit, post OAU, I think you went to Sokoto for your NYSC. I'm surprised you didn't try to maybe I don't know if this wasn't something they did back then, like redeploy to Lagos or go to. Were you comfortable the moment you saw I've been posted to Sokoto? Were you just happy going to Sokoto, or did you try to sort of get your way back to southwestern
Yeah, I
Nigeria?
mean, interesting question. So interestingly, I was working already. So when I finished my NYS, so when I finished my exams and I went to Ife, and I think I finished my exam so I went to Lagos rather. I finished my exams in Ife, I think October 2006, and by November I was in Ife. So I was in Lagos, staying with my brother and writing tests of companies that allowed people that are not going for NYSC to come and do their internship, all of those things. I got job in Stanbic IBTC, I got job in Betiva. Pre-NYSC job, not permanent job. So I was doing in January 2007 and I was working, and I was hoping to be put, I actually made some effort to be posted to Lagos, but it didn't work out. So I found myself being posted to Sokoto State. So I got to Sokoto in March 2007, March 7 to be precise. And when I got to Sokoto, it felt like, the job I had in Lagos, of course, needed to end because it wasn't a company that had an office in, it was Betiva Capital Management, and it was an investment management firm. So I made efforts to return to Lagos, but it didn't work out, and I felt like, I mean, it's also an experience for me to. I just gave up after trying, and yeah, it became a quite exciting experience for me. I immersed myself in politics of the state. I never got into problem. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I
all
was
in
going
all,
to
it
touch
was a
on
good
that
experience for
next.
me.
Like it was so interesting that you ended up in trouble in Sokoto State.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, so interesting. So leaving Sokoto, I think was that sort of the highlight of your stay in Sokoto? Did you do anything that sort of helped cushion your life in the corporate world, apart from obviously the running into the government and all of
Yeah.
that, the
Okay.
governor's
Yeah.
issue?
So that article I wrote, we're just having some gist among, at the corporate lodge, everybody was just complaining about the governor, state that we have stopped and all of those things. And me, I was a good writer. I just decided to write an article to blast the governor and all of those things. And I thought I was a student in Ife where we were pampered and, student can say anything and nobody takes
And
you
later.
seriously. But now, I mean, I was made to face the music because, come on, you can't be criticizing state government, a state governor, and, as a core member, as a child of this government. So I ran into trouble on that. I mean, I was fished out by the, NYSC, and the matter was discussed at the state executive, council level,
Wow.
and yeah, I was given 3 month extension for my NYSC. So that was a major highlight. Outside that too, I started writing. I used the period to also write my ICANN exams, to start my ICANN exams because I felt like, okay, I had enough time on me. My teaching was just for 30 minutes or maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 to 3 times in a week, and I felt I had a lot of time for me. So I went for the ICANN exam, for professional accounting exam. I topped I came first in the whole country in that first level I wrote, foundation, and that was another highlight for me. But the other highlight was, making new friends for the first time, meeting people from different parts of the world. I mean, those are the other things I did experience in my Sokoto State. So I would say these were the highlights of my stay in Sokoto State.
Awesome. I forgot to mention this earlier. Well, in 2006, you mentioned that meeting Mr. Niyi Yusuf and Mr. Bayo Shonibare was one of the most important non-academic related event that shaped your life. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Thanks so much. I mean, I'm sure you've read my book where I mentioned that. Yeah. So in the final year in Ife, when I was in the final year in Ife, I was I was like I mean, this is how it happened. This is how it started. So I was in my room one day, I think late 2005 or early 2006. I was in my room one day and I had one of my roommates saying that OAU Muslim graduates, I was stationed, I mean, a group of Muslim graduates in OAU, people had graduated and already working, doing well in school. They organized some sort of seminar outside, in Lagos. Okay, and they've given 3 slots for maybe 3 or 5 slots for students, existing students to come and join them if they want, just to go and listen to interviews, how interviews are done, how tests are done, all of those things. So I just overheard somebody in my room mention it. Afa, this is where they talk. I don't mind taking up one of the slots. So, no problem. I just got the slots and I found myself in Lagos. So I traveled from Ife to Lagos to attend that job seminar. And I was really, what I gained there was exciting. Like it was my first major induction into how interviews should be done, how tests should be done, and, the whole processes of finding job. Okay. So I now met one of the speakers on that day, was Mr. Nibu and two of the speakers were Mr. Yusuf and Mr. Shonibare. Both of them were working at Accenture then. Accenture was the top management and IT consulting firm at that time in Nigeria. So, after that seminar, when I go back to Ife, I wrote an email to the organizers that they could please give me the emails of the people that delivered the lecture. So, in a way, I was able to get Mr. Yusuf's phone number. I became the president of my faculty student society. Faculty, not the whole, just my faculty. And I was able to organize. I tried to bring Mr. Yusuf to Ife to come. What he was telling us at that seminar, he should come and tell other students in school. Thankfully, he accepted. And he came around, and it was amazing. Like the old resources he gave to us, the information he gave to us on searching for job hunting, interviews, adding job tests, and things to say for me that, by the time I studied those resources, that by the time I started going for interviews and job tests, it was, more like a breeze for me. And so forever be grateful for him for that opportunity of giving me that information on the job tests and interviews and how to handle them at that critical time of, my final year in school.
Interesting. And obviously, later we'll go into details about job test and interview because I can say you are paying it forward now, considering what
Exactly.
recently happened regarding the NNPC thing. But I'll keep that for later. But before we go into that, I also wanted to point out something I thought was very interesting. In a part of your book, you talked about the fact that you applied for a job. I think it was at Betiva, and then you weren't called, and you were so sure that you should have been called that you called the recruiter to tell them they should double check again just to make sure there was no mistake. Can you walk me through what happened and how confident you would feel to call a recruiter and say, I think you should check it again. My name should be there. Can you walk me through that?
So that incident happened in November 2006. And so me and my friend is now a top guy in Shell. Both of us just came to Lagos to also for a job. Both of us were staying in my brother's BQ in Nigeria. And we just finished NYSC. Before NYSC, we were trying to just get that NYSC job. And we submitted our CV in Betiva, this company. So on that day, they told us that the pass mark was. They told us that the pass mark was. I think they told us that was 60%, and so they put us in different rooms. Okay, they put me. I did my own in one room. My friend Shaki did his own in the other room. Okay, now. So we did the test, about 6 questions or something. We were meant to answer the questions. Then we were meant to also write an essay, not more than 100 words essay on the how to fix power sector or something in Nigeria. But I think the question for that essay was, if you became the president of Nigeria, now what will you do? The first one, that was the question. I wrote the test. My friend also wrote the test in his own room, in his own side, and we go back home. 3 or 4 days later, and my friend got a phone call to say that he had, not a phone call. I think text message that, okay, oh, the test you wrote in vertical capital management, you passed. So, come for interview on Monday. It was a Friday. We got that call around that call, like maybe like that. He got that text, and I was waiting I was checking my phone every 2 minutes. Where is my own invitation for the next week? Then this test, what's happening? So when it got to like 4 o'clock or thereabout, I didn't see any text from any text message from them. But what's happening now? I don't think that I should have issue with this test. So and I got the phone number that sent him invite for interview. I got it from me, my friend, because we were together. I called him. And I called the number, and the lady that picked that time her name was Chidima. She was the admin and HR person at Betiva at that time, 2006, 2007. I spoke to Madam Chidima. How are you? My name is Suraj Oyewale. I wrote a test in your company a few days ago, and my friend got a message that he had been invited for interview on Monday, and I didn't get anything. She now told me that if you did not get a message from me, from us, that means you did not pass, because we only contacted people that passed. Because I now asked her that, because I never thought I would not pass that test. Please, ma'am, what was the I asked her one question that essay, what was the percentage of the essay? Was after to write an essay? Remember I said that. What was the percentage of the essay? What was the weight of the essay in the whole score? She now told me that the essay was just to look at your English. It wasn't graded as part of the pass criteria. Because I thought that the only thing I could think of that could have made me feel was that essay, because I wrote, because you know me, I write, I'm a man of many words. So, and they said that they have to write 100 words. I wrote maybe like 150 or 200 words. So I felt like that was what.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that kept in my mind that they would have used to disqualify me. When she now told me that essay was just to test our English, it wasn't graded as part of the score over the pass mark. I said that, madam, what was the score? What was the pass mark? She said 60%. For my mind, I said, it's not possible for me not to score 60% in this test. I said that to her in my mind. I said, madam, please, do you mind telling me what my score was? Please, let me check my paper, what my score was. She was initially almost dismissive and said, if you did not get a text from us, that means you did not pass. That means you did not make our cutoff. When she asked if she was cut off, she now, went through her, I guess she still had the papers, in her desk. She went to her scores on the paper and she now saw, what's your name again? Tell me, Suraj Oyewale. Tell me you did not, why you didn't get the message from me. Said I didn't get. She now said, I mean, you passed. You did score like, 73% or something. You passed. So she now, told me to apologize to me and asked me to come to that interview on Monday too. So, we were having lunch at the kitchen in the office. I said, Mother Chida, do you remember my kids? Do you remember my incident where, I was told I didn't pass? I asked her to, I said, I remember your kids. And after what happened, she now narrated, she now gave me that formally that what happened was that, I was, when we were analyzing it, that time it was paper, not now that they teach everything like just paper, the tests were marked. And I had the same score with Chaki, my friend. And both of us had like, maybe like 73%. Both of us were we topped that test. They tested maybe like 20 or 30 people, not so many. She now told me during that lunch discussion that, okay, what happened was that, so, after I had sent invite to, his own that was on top, his own was on top. Okay, I sent invite to him and I put the paper, okay, and somebody now called me. Like someone now called me and I stood up and I went to attend to something. When I came back, I now saw like something I do like same thing on my desk. And I've invited this person now. And I flip the paper and put it on the next, and continue to invite the other people. Like she thought it was the same person she attended to before she left, that she sent the text message to
Because it
before she
was the
left.
same score
Also the same
that
person
she had seen.
whose paper she met on that desk. It was possible because me and him, Chaki, our names were very common.
Yes.
And we did
Yeah.
our CV on this because both of us were living in the same room. Both of us were friends from university. So we did our CV the same way. And our CV looked exactly the same. Like we just changed the name and changed our date of birth, everything, class,
You went to the same way
incoming,
you.
first class, second
So
class,
exactly.
date of birth 1982. He was born in January, I was born in I think in August, like our CV is the same format. Like the same format of our CV, like because we were friends and living together. So that was what made her to think that it was the same person she invited for interview, and we not score the same score. The way the score on the paper, maybe on the CV or something. We not score the same. So that was the mistake she made, and she told me it was quite exciting. She was gracious enough to also be responding to me when I was asking her questions. So some other child would have said, "Don't stop me. If you don't get our paper, if you don't get our test interview, by that means it's not bad.
Exactly.
Don't stop me." But she was gracious enough to check for me, and she realized that, oh, I've not invited this person for test. So that was what happened that day. Quite an exciting experience.
Interesting. That was a very interesting one. Yeah. I think again it also underscores the importance of sometimes being self-confident, knowing that when you think that you've put in your best into something and you're not seeing the
Exactly.
results you want, don't just give up and just try your luck. The worst they would have said again, like they would have said to you, is we say you
Exactly.
didn't pass, go away, and you'll probably move on. Well, it turned out
Exactly.
differently. Yeah, thanks for that. So would you say that was your first exposure into proper corporate setting? That was your first
Exactly. So that was
introduction
my
to
first
corporate world?
exposure. Yeah, so I got in and I resumed work in that company on 2nd of January 2007. I mean, my first exposure in corporate girls, I was initially a bit fidgety. I was, because my own English wasn't as smooth as everybody I was seeing. People that schooled in top schools abroad. I mean, that was, had to pick my words, very, very high level environment, high level transaction. And, so I was a little bit, also sometimes scared. But after a couple of weeks, I really got inducted into the system and understood what was going on. Unfortunately, NYSC don't post me because I couldn't continue the work and I had to move to Sokoto after just 3 months there, 2.5 months there also.
So you had to resign your position there and move to Sokoto. Again, just
Yeah,
to
exactly.
dwell a little bit on that, this is something a lot of people experience. In fact, I did experience it as well when I moved to the UK and started my work. I think it's sort of imposter syndrome where you feel like, oh, do I really belong here?
Exactly.
Like you said, the people speaking Queen's English, and you are like, I'm like, oh, these people are all talking. What can I say anything? And how did you navigate that? How did you overcome your imposter syndrome at Vevita over for the first 3 months you
Okay,
spent?
I mean, so sometimes results can be used. I told you I spent the same thing in Ife, and when I got in, I first met the students who finished from top schools in Lagos, in Ibadan, and I was scared that can I really compete with these people but after the test, first set of test results came out, and I saw that I really beat these people in test, and I mean, these people were not better than
Maybe
me,
they're not
so.
that special.
I mean,
Yeah.
these guys, I mean, so that was the first thing. So when it happened again, when I was being inducted to Corporate Lagos to that first work, and I realized that, okay, this also started like me. Okay, like, so what gave me that confidence was this also started like me. I just graduated a few weeks ago, and the people I was looking at, I was speaking of this, they had graduated, some of them 4, 5 years ago. Some of them have had experience, 10, 15 years experience. So I felt like, I should not be too hard on myself. Just a phase, okay, just a phase on, just trying to get myself, to observe things, look for people that are more friendly, talk to them. I got a corner of people that are more friendly, and I talk to them. Sometimes, we look at people that look like you, also trying to just form some informal relationship with them and all those things. You put your confidence, and after some couple of weeks or months, you realize that, no, they're not better than you, or they are better than you but they are actually undergo that phase that you currently have. So, and of course, you have to develop yourself as well because, if you don't bring value,
Okay.
you don't get that kind of, it becomes difficult for you to fit in.
Interesting. So you went to Sokoto, came back to Lagos, and I guess that was when you got into Rwando. And what was it like
Yeah.
applying to Rwando was one of the top oil and gas company in Nigeria back then. What was it like getting into one of the tier one companies in Lagos back
Yeah,
then?
yeah. At that time, banks were the major recruiter of, graduates, the top graduates. Banks were the major recruiter. That was shortly after the bank consolidation account of Soludo, and we had a lot of banks, new banks, bigger banks, recruiting graduates. The big four too, also recruiting graduates, PwC, KPMG, and all of those firms recruiting graduates. But shortly before I finished my NYSC, I applied to Shell, I applied to Rwando, and I applied to Rwando after my NYSC, but, Shell towards the end of my NYSC. And I was having the recruitment process of both of them. So Rwando invited me for test. Okay. I did it. I passed the test. Thankfully, that same test, the same test I did in Vetiva before I went for my NYSC was also the same test that Rwando, Rwando said. Like, I don't know how that happened, but I guess it's the same testing source. The same GMAT, like the same 60 question mark, all the 50 questions was the same that came out in Rwando. So I passed that one too. I mean, if I could pass one for West Point NYSC, I scored 71% in that one. 73%, when I was going for it. So I passed the test. Rwando was moving fast. That's me to come, for interview. Like few days later, I went for the interview. I passed the interview, and later I asked him to meet the CEO for chat. I met the CEO for the chat too. But I was only on undergoing Shell too. For Shell, I passed the first stage. Okay, I passed the first stage, and I was undergoing the second stage. Okay, and I was meant to go to the final stage rather, and but Wando was moving faster. So so I passed all the 3 stages of Wando, and on the day I was meant to resume in Wando, that is June 16, 2008, but the day Shell fixed, okay, for their final assessment in Warri. So I was meant to fly from Lagos to Warri to go for that final assessment of Shell. But I was scared that, I mean, if I didn't resume in Rwando, and I went to Warri, before I came back, Rwando would have said, come on, we have got the second person in this thing, and, because you didn't show up on the first day and all those things. So I didn't go for that final stage of Shell. My same friend, he now went because he was also passing, he got to that stage, got that final stage of Shell too. My friend in Betiva that I said he was not picked, I said he passed the test, he said I didn't pass. Now he now got into Shell. He got into Shell, but by the time he got in, I had already started in Rwando. Okay, I resumed in Rwando. It was a good exercise for me, and all the things I said I learned in school, through Mr. Niji, how to answer interview question. A little bit, I was a little bit mechanical. I was more mechanical, like standard answers to questions like tell me about yourself, why do you want to work for us, what do you know about this company, all those things I had more or less, had some standard answers I was going to give to them because of the way I started preparing from school. So I got into Rwando. My friend got into Shell few weeks later when the result came out. I mean, first salary was 160,000 in Rwando at that time, and my friend was collecting at 500K in Shell, almost 3 times what I was collecting.
For the same
Yeah,
level of
2008. Yeah, I mean, 500,000 in Shell in 2008. I was collecting, about 163,000. I remember after shortly it became 193,000, almost 200,000 by the end of that year. That paying bank in that time, at that time was paying about 120,000. The big four then, KPMG, PwC, were paying about 90,000, 80,000, 100,000. So I mean, so for a fresh graduate, 160,000 was like,
was a good
even though I had a lot of responsibilities, so a lot of black type, but at least I was earning more than an average graduate. And that was my friend that was even had close like 500K in Shell.
interesting. I guess you would never know if you would have gotten that role or not, since you didn't
Exactly,
go
exactly.
for.
I mean,
Yeah,
so
so it's
there's nothing to
best to
regret.
just leave it.
I could have
Like,
gone and not made it too. I mean, there's nothing to
yeah,
regret anyway. So it's
exactly.
it's better I just chose the one I had in my hands, and I started there, and that was how my own career began.
Interestingly. And then you spent a couple of years at Rwando, moved to Seven Energy again,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
PwC. So let's say
exactly.
I'd like to talk about your end in the corporate, your sort of your last lap in the corporate Lagos world before we go to entrepreneurship and then talk about some of the other things. So moving to PwC, what was that like for you?
Okay, so I had experience, in oil and gas industry all my career. I joined Rwando in 2008, June. After 4 years, I moved to Seven Energy. They advertised in the papers. I saw the advert. I applied. I got in. 2012, I got in. I rose through the ranks to become head of tax and supply chain by 2022. And by 2019, they got a new company to buy some of the main subsidiaries of Seven Energy. Seven Energy came on board, and we employees also moved to Seven Energy, and the exposure continued. After spending 14 years, I decided to quit. And when I quit, I joined PwC, and I just started with that is now the President Bola
Presidential,
Tinubu's
yes.
exactly tax man. I sent him an email telling him that I wanted to move to. I had done a lot of stuff in the industry in tax, because I was still doing tax in the industry anyway, just doing it for company rather than doing it as a consultant. So I wanted to join PwC to just get more experience in that. I did that. I sent that to all the big four. PwC. I sent that email, to all the big four. I sent it because I need partners in all of those. I need Taiwo in PwC. I knew, another partner in KPMG. I knew another partner in Deloitte. I knew another partner in Ernst& Young because of I was very, very busy with the industry. I was always writing about tax. I was also doing sometimes on TV. So all of them, they knew me. Then what also brought us together and some of the industry. So both of them, they already knew me. That I was this guy was the tax manager of Savannah Energy, and he was always, talking tax and all of this. So they knew me. So when Taiwo was in London when he got that email, and he told me, he replied me immediately to say that, okay, I'll be in Nigeria next week. Anytime when I returned, I'll let you know so that we can have a dinner and talk about this email you've sent to me about moving to Big Four. So when he came to Nigeria, we had a dinner in Lekki, at a restaurant in Lekki, and he was gracious enough to tell me about a lot of things. I applied for director. I wanted to become a director, but he told me that the best they could give me was a senior manager because because I didn't have that consulting experience, and director requires some form of large
Yeah,
consulting experience because I'm managing large consulting roles, and
portfolios.
somebody that never did something in consulting may not. So he said, okay, the best I can give was no manager, okay, no problem. So I got in, and it was a wonderful experience. Work with top good people, slightly different from the industry. In the industry, we're solving problems for the for our employer, tax problems for my company. But now we're solving for clients. So different clients, different problems. A client will engage PwC, but at some point they seconded me to a company, another company, because that company consulted PwC and told them that please, our tax manager for Africa resigned, okay? And pending time we recruited somebody else. second somebody to us to be our Africa tax manager. So PwC seconded me to that company. It's an American oil services company. Okay. And so I was more or less back in industry now, but
Yeah,
exactly back in industry doing that role as a tax manager for that
a
oil
bigger energy
company,
company.
Africa, managing 40 countries. But it was fun. It was really fun. And after 1 year, I decided to pick PwC too because my side business, my real estate business, was doing much better than I thought. So I felt like I think this is the right time for me to quit and go and face my
Your real estate
my
business.
business full time.
Did you feel Mr. Tawide was disappointed knowing that you've only spent a year and you're leaving so soon? Did you have a conversation with him and what was that like?
Nice question. Nice question. So when I wanted to resign, I mean, he sat me down. I'm accepting my name. He sat me down, and because when I wanted to join, the intention was that they wanted to build their tax practice, like so they were in the industry, like that industry experience to come and join the PwC oil and gas division and all of that. So I was coming from the industry. Somebody also came from Shell to join, like so we're there to build that practice to support companies. So he saw me as someone that was going to play a very big part in that PwC's ambition of becoming one of the topmost advisors for oil companies. I, I mean, me having started on the other side of the table before. So that was the time. So I was also making out and saying that, hey, I'm here for a long time. I'm here for the long. We're going to do all of these, ambition, planning, all of those
Mm,
things. Wanted all of this, and so I think he was disappointed that this man, when we and I were talking 1 year ago, he told me we're here for a long time, but here you are. You told me you're telling me you are going, but he didn't express it. He didn't tell me that. But quote, anybody would be
I
disappointed
can
that
feel
this
it.
man,
Yeah,
he just waste our time and having come to without much hope and promise of joining our tax, oil and gas practice and all of those things. And it was, but he gave me solid advice. He advised me. He told me some areas I needed to work on, especially policy part and all of those things. And he was very gracious to me. But the word is, soldier go, soldier come back. 3 months after, he also left. President Bola Tinubu also came with
picked him up.
his own, and so he also left. So, no company, everybody, the same way I left when I saw, something,
Yeah.
that was I wanted to affect my company. He also left
Mm.
3 months later, to work for government and all of that. So, I think all those things happen. No place is,
It's part
we
of
are all
life.
here temporarily.
Yeah.
Whatever we find ourselves, it's just meant for us to do it well. We are not going to be there permanently. So, I guess he had that sense of, he already knew that
Understand.
people change, people move from time to time. So that's why he wasn't so um, overtly disappointed in me because, he himself left after 3 months anyway. So, anybody can leave if the opportunity comes. But a very great man. 1 year I worked with him, excellent man, solid man, highly gracious, and I'm happy to know him.
Interesting. And again, obviously, knowing that corporate Lagos is fast paced, people leave, people come. But the unique thing about your situation is that you are not going from PwC to maybe another top four. You are going to your own business, which is always sort of the unknown. This looks like a very
Yes.
important decision. I don't know where it would rank in the maybe top 5 decisions you've made all your life, but let's say it's somewhere up there. At what point, what was your eureka moment to say, you know what, I'm done. We're leaving corporate world. What was that key moment for you?
I think that when my company's revenue it's 1 billion naira, my company. So when I left the oil and gas industry in 2022, I was given some small money. Not so big money, but I had some good savings as well. I had some not good, but decent savings. I started a real estate company. I registered the company. And I started a real estate company. By the side, I bought a land just behind my house, and I started building. I started marketing it. People started paying, and after that, within 3-4 months, the project was sold out. I started another one. That one too was sold out. By the end of the first 6 months, I had, things were moving fast. But I was doing that side business. I was still working with PwC, okay? But I was running this real estate business by the side. Okay. So by the time the company was going beyond my expectation, I felt it was just something I could just be doing, by the
As a
side. And
second
when the
hobby,
company's
as a side
revenue
hustle.
hits 1 billion naira, I felt like I needed to go and face this thing fully. And also, I felt like, I might not be able to, out of respect to PwC, my employer, I might not, the
Okay.
time I needed to give to PwC, I might be distracted. Um, and also given the fact that, uh, PwC, there might be some conflict of interest issues, because, you are working for PwC, advising clients, you also own your own companies and all of those, and just say, you know what, let me just go and face this business fully. It's been a good, like you said, it's one of the top five decisions I've made. But the moment for me was that, you know what, when the company was becoming big, and I was also sometimes, because I was also restricted because of my work in PwC, I couldn't,
Yeah.
I couldn't go on TV and
Explore the way
admit
you
myself as
wanted.
the MD of Jarus Homes. There was some restriction. I felt like, you know what, let me just drop this and go and face it fully. That was the moment for me.
That's an interesting one. Now let's talk about Jarosob before we talk about Jarosob. Jarosob was probably your first sort of product, your baby in terms of creating something of your own.
Yeah.
Why did you create Jarosob?
It's when I was in school, and I felt like I realized that a lot of people did not have that kind of information that I had. I really helped me to start on a very good footing. So in 2007, when I was serving, I joined Nairaland, which was a public forum, and I was always commenting there. So at that time, I had finished school, I had graduated with a good grade. So I was always posting about my experience as grade, getting the younger ones to make sure they get a good grade. 2008, I got a job in Rwando. I began to post on Nairaland, teaching people things to say in tests, things to do in tests, things to do in interviews, and all of those things. Like I was more or less sharing my own experience of my friend, and all of those things. So by 2009, I was voted the second best poster on the career section of Nairaland. So people were knowing me already as the guy that was always advising people on education based on his experience and experience of his friends, on career based on his experience and all of this. Before I knew it, the whole thing was blowing beyond my expectation. Everybody was beginning to respect my views, my opinions on all of those. As I was going my career too, I was sharing my experience, what happened in my workplace, what I did, how I passed one test, how I passed one interview. All those things I was sharing them. And by 2013, I had become very, very popular on Ireland. Okay, guy as go-to guy for information
Career.
on job and career and even education. And I decided, let me go and open my own hub now, my own hub. Okay. 2013, I now opened a website called Jarosob. So I opened that website, Jarosob. So most of the things I used to post on Ireland, career advice, job advice, I started to post it on my own website because I had more independence on that, on that website because, Ireland wasn't my website. Okay, but I was not giving that free information. So I began to do that on Jarosob, which I floated in March 2013, from 12 years ago. Before I knew it became popular too, a couple of years later, I now registered a company called Jarus and Jan Limited, which is like the corporate face of Jarus Hub. And I got my friends to be writing articles on Jarus Hub. I also giving people advice, posts, okay? When I say,
Great
okay,
one.
if you want beyond this blog post, contact us and we can teach you how to answer interview questions. We can teach you how to, write CVs for some small fees. And that was how the whole thing began. So that was how it moved from ordinary post on Ireland to a blog, Jarus Hub, to a company, and now the company is now still being run fully by my partner. I have a partner that runs it fully now, Abikabir, and I just go in for some special, coaching. But we have the website still running 12 years later. We have people patronizing us, major job tests, major interviews, companies, NNPC, we organize coaching, travel across Nigeria, Lagos, Abuja, push people, put them in a room like this, push them, teach them what to say, teach them what not to say, tell them about oil and gas industry and our candidates mostly pass, they do in all of these, interviews.
I think you Jarosob probably had one of the highest success rate I have seen during the last NNPC interviews.
I
I
think
think
so.
yeah, that
I think
was
I
great.
got. I personally think we got in. I think minimum of 100 of our candidates actually got to NNPC. Just
As
last week, I was traveling in Abuja. I met somebody at the airport that told me that, I attended the interview and now with NNPC. I got another one for like almost every day. Last 2 weeks ago, last 1 week ago, I met two people.
wow.
So I think we got in NNPC. This last improvement they did. I think we got minimum of 100 people because the feedback people that got back to us, we got more than like 70 feedback. Thank you, got in. It's not everybody that coach that got in. Our success was really very, very
Exactly.
high.
Some
Like
people
a
might not
lot of
even get
people.
back to you, but yeah, from the ones we saw as well, I can see that it's a lot of people. Yeah. They want to keep everything low key. Yeah. Nobody help
People that
me.
go back to us were like up to 70. And sometimes I will just be working at a place, I will just meet somebody randomly, and they will tell me, oh, we got into NNPC, we attended your coaching, we read your stuff you shared, So, I think it's based on my own experience as someone that worked in the oil and gas industry, and my own experience teaching people, how to things to say in interviews. So and my own partner, Kabi, is also very, very good in teaching, interview coaching. So, I think that NNPC, and it's not just NNPC, from time to time, energy that they did last year, we got people in. Of course, energy does not take more as many people as NNPC, of course. But all these KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, from time to time when they are recruiting, I think we've got minimum of 400 people who have gotten jobs, in different
Corporate
companies in
sectors.
Nigeria. That people that
Yeah,
attended our
corporate
coaching
Nigeria.
and all of that. So it's something that we're happy to have, to have sustained in the last 10 years.
Oh, that's really impressive. Particularly impressed with the NMPC one because yeah, I know people that applied. In fact, it was too late.
Exactly.
Obviously, people that applied and didn't get any sort of coaching, they failed. And like it was later when we started seeing the results, like you could have contacted Jarosob when things were still going. But yeah, hopefully something else comes up and we're able to refer people. But I
Yeah.
want to, without going into a lot of details, can you tell me sort of the top 5 interview tips you can sort of share at the top of at the snap of a finger, like these are the key things you've noticed with the years of experience you've had in the industry, all the successes you've had. What are those common things that turn out to be the most important interview tips?
Okay, so let me divide it into things to do before the interview and things to do during the interview. Okay, before the interview, make sure you read about the company. People take for granted, all those kind of things sometimes because it doesn't make sense that you are going to interview with a company and you don't know about the company. Like it's a deal breaker. Like you don't even put in much effort to know about us. You can turn up interviewer, if they ask you some questions about the company that you don't know about it. Know about the company. Go to their website, points, all of you don't know the company like them, or you know their company like them, but know the basic, their core values, some of these about their history, their products, all of those things, know all of those things, one. So know about the company, know about the industry. That's another thing. Read about the industry before going for the interview. Read about the industry. This is also very important. About the industry because you know having some knowledge of the industry will make you to be able to situate them among their competitors, among who are their competitors, how are they performing in the market? Are they some of the biggest? Some of the things you can even use to sack them in interviews. These are things that you can get from reading about the industry. Okay. So the second tip is read about the industry. Then the third one tip I will mention is be familiar with your CV. Familiar with your CV. Okay, because you know, every single thing on your CV, they can ask question on it. Some people put hobby. My hobby is secret. Which book did you read last? You don't know. Just put it there because everybody is putting it there. My hobby is, I'm a multitasking person. Demonstrate an example of where you multitask. You are looking. So, be familiar with every single thing on your CV. Sometimes there's a gap on your CV, like you did not work for 1 year. Be ready for something to say to defend that. Somebody may pick it among the interviewers. Okay, somebody will pick their own interviewer. So that's another thing, that can people thought tip I will give people, familiar with us TV, then do the interview. Tips I can make during the interview is that if there are some good news about the company, if there's some good news about the company that you've seen, okay, try to slot them into your answers. We are all human beings, we are all people like to be sad, people like positive things about them. Okay. So if you are reading about if,
Yeah.
while you are reading about that company, as we wait to prepare for the interview, if you come across some interesting things, positive, don't mention negative, don't mention that AFC is teaching their MDO or AFCC, their chairman on Saturday. No, don't go and mention it. If you say any
Yeah.
negative thing, just pretend that you did not see them.
Yes.
Focus on only the positive. So some positive things you
Yeah.
see come across in process of researching them. Try to way of talking about it in the interview, during the interview. You can use it to more or less praise them that okay, I mean, a couple of days ago I was reading about how your company invested $5 million into the solar energy space, and this is kind of quite impressive because we all know that in Nigeria today, we need that kind of investment to. So sometimes they feel like this guy knows something about
That's
us.
the
That might be
psychology.
the
Yeah.
difference between you and somebody that is just talking randomly. So all those small things can make a difference. Oh, this guy really cares about us. Okay, so that's my fourth tip. If you have any positive things about them, find a way to just slot it into their interview. At the end of the interview, ask questions. Ask questions. But don't turn the table down. Don't make it like you will now
Yeah,
be,
interviewing them.
you don't tell them they're not going to be looking for a job. Oh. The fact that they are telling you to ask questions does not mean that you now be asking them 5 questions. Sometimes I see that. Why doing mock interview with some of my candidates in NNPC before I now correct them? Somebody will now be asking 5 questions. After they don't really find job now. So, but make sure you ask one question, like one well thought out question. You can just also get the question from researching them. Something you find interesting about them. You can just ask questions about it and all of those. So, those are the 5 things I can talk about now. know about the industry, know about the company, know about the industry, okay? Then
Know your CV.
know about the company industry, know about the company one, know about the industry two, find positive things about them you can use to slot into the interview. Then ask them questions. If one question, don't ask more than one, because they're not the one looking for a job. Don't ask them plenty questions. Then what was the fifth one I mentioned again?
You said
I
to
think
know
I
your
talked
CV in
about.
and out. Know your
Please know
everything
your
about
CV
your
now.
CV.
Exactly. Thank you.
Interesting. Those are very, very useful tips that I think people will find immediately. In fact, just thinking about this, that good news part of it, I think you could have this psychological this thing on the head of the people interviewing you. Like,
Exactly. Everybody likes to feel
it's
good. Like,
we are
it
all
makes you feel
humans
good.
here.
Like,
We
this
have,
guy,
yeah,
this guy really cares about. It makes you deeper than somebody who's just
yeah.
answering
They feel more
questions, basic
connected to you than
answers.
the other person who is just coming to
Exactly.
answer
Who
their question.
doesn't?
They
Who
feel like,
doesn't know
ah,
that?
this
Yeah,
one, yeah,
exactly.
wow,
Yeah.
impressive. Thank
That
you
kind
very
of
much for
things we
that.
teach
So,
them in NNPC.
yeah,
Anyway, that kind of thing we teach our candidates in NNPC. I think they don't talk about.
inter
Don't talk about. That NNPC
or
one month is
politics.
meeting
Don't talk
NNPC.
about politics and football. I know you talked about the fact that
Exactly. I
you've
mean,
had,
talk about stuff that will
yeah,
make them to connect with you and all of this. That kind of thing we used to teach them
yeah.
in our coaching.
So, how does this work with Jarosob? Is it like when someone gets a job interview offer, for example, do they like reach out quickly to Jarosob to say, "I've just got this offer," or is it only when there are mass recruitment with big companies going on? How does it work?
So we do. So on our website we have. If you have interview with any company that you just sold, no problem. You can contact my partner who is very, very good in it. We handle it. So they will coach you. They will sit you down like this, teach you what you are meant to say, what you are not meant to say, and also do a mock interview with you. You assume you are the HR of that company. You are the candidate. We do a mock interview with you. Things you get wrong, we correct you. Areas that you are not fleshing enough, we tell you to flesh them. We give you some good tips and all, so that we do that. But we also do mass when companies are doing mass recruitment too. They deliberately push out adverts, okay, so that NMPC is recruiting. When they get to interview stage, so date will be in Lagos, so date will be in Abuja, so date will be in Port Harcourt. Let's meet in this venue. Pay fees, maybe 20,000, 30,000. Come around. Let's teach you. Now spend the whole day. We teach them the theory part. We are now have mock interview with each and every one of them. Give them their feedback. Tell them what to say. Tell them what not to say. Teach them about the NPC, about the oil and gas industry. Look at their CV, ask questions. And some of these things come out in the actual NLPC interview, so they're already prepared for it. And these are the kind of things that get them advantage. So that's how it works. Yes, if it's just is one-off single recruitment, do that, and people contact us. But if it's a mass recruitment by top companies like KPMG, Deloitte, NNPC, PR, DPR, now I'll tell you PRC, all these top companies, we deliberately set a date and put people in a room or sometimes virtually and teach them all of these things. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Now let's talk a little bit more about Jarus Home and going into the real estate. I know a couple of times I've heard you talked about the fact that Jarus Home is as primarily one of the key drivers in Jarus Home has always been the social capital, especially across this social capital you've built over the years across either Naira Land or Jarosob or Twitter, now known as X. Can you tell me a bit about that experience? What has it been like building social capital and what exactly does it entail? How does one build a social capital?
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I did not seek out to be the social capital when I started. I've always been the guy that was always sharing information among people, trying to, support people around me with, information advantage I have. I told you that when I was in university, I was taking tutorials and I had junior ones around me teaching them. And when I was second, I was doing the same thing to my peers. So that has always been my nature from time. And so when the online, when everything moved online, and I started sharing information online. I registered on Nairaland in 2007, July 25 or 27, and I was only sharing information on this thing. I was just trying to, just to make sure that we build as many people as possible like me, as many people as possible that have this kind of information that I had. Because a lot of Nigerian people, younger ones, they are very brilliant, but they just don't have the right information, okay? So I feel like I can share my own experience on mass scale, okay, through all these platforms. So that's how I started. Before I knew it, some people were in school in 2008, 19 when I was sharing. By 2021, 22, they had started working. They had become big people. But the guy will remember that, I remember when I was in university, Jarus academic tips online was helpful to me. Now that I can buy a house, I think I can buy a house from him. So that connection, that I've been doing this for 2007 was 18 years ago. So 18 years ago, so you imagine something you've been doing for 10, 14, 15 years, very known by people benefiting from it. So there's that connection with you. That's the whole essence of my social capital. So it was built on that kind. Of course, I do some other things as well. Sometimes I discuss politics. Sometimes I just play with people online. I have this sense of community where we tend to just come together. I'm sure you see the way I roll online. Like, I don't discriminate among people. I don't, I engage anybody. We talk, we gist. So, I bring any topic, I like it. So it's that community that I've been able to build that really made my social capital to be quite strong. People see, that's why the fact that I had a show online some last year, a lot of people felt I was not going to make a comeback or something, probably even bigger than I was then. So that's social capital, and that can be built by adding value to that people, that condition. And that's what has been helping my business. Partially everything I put out there, people jump at it. A couple of days ago, I tweeted that I was going to be the sales boy for my wife's shop, and I wanted to make a $3 million sales, and I made it within just one day, because people say, "Oh, Jarus, this is a way to give back to Jarus. We've known this guy for long. We supported us." And so that's that's how social capital is about. Just about community, mutual benefit. Okay. So it's just about community, sharing information, playing with people, having that kind of raising a community of people that are mutually adding value. Exactly. So that's how social capital is.
And
It
it's
has been
in
helpful to
what
me.
I think what is impressive and sorry, I think what
It
is
has really helped all my commercial endeavors.
yeah, I think I like the fact that when you were talking about building social capital, so adding that value but not expecting something in return, it looks like something you at that point you were not expecting anything from anybody. When it
So when I
came
joined
many years
Ireland,
after, was because they didn't pay you on Naira. Do they pay people on Naira for posting at any point?
no,
Do you get?
some of those people that have benefited from that information will come back to me and say that, "Oh, now you're selling something, let's buy it from you." Yeah. The same thing, I'm asking people's questions anonymously on Twitter now. I'm asking people's questions anonymously on Twitter, their career and education, guiding them. Most of them, I don't know them because they send the question anonymously. So
Yeah.
if one of them, the advice I give one of them today, that person benefits that person and he gets a good job or something, in 5 years' time, the person will think of me when he wants to do whatever he wants to do. So I'm not sticking to, and that's not my primary intention, but it happens, okay, because everybody sees the value you're adding, and some of them feel like a way to reciprocate that is just to patronize it on commercial on your commercial dealings.
It is a well-known fact that there is a housing deficit in Nigeria, and housing has been something where it's almost something of the higher class. Is Jarosob doing anything different from the typical real estate companies where it's only available to the sort of the what do they call them? I am that I'm the bigger people. Are you doing anything to make housing more accessible and affordable for sort of the average to mid income earning Nigerians?
To be honest with you, if you say a house is affordable, I don't like using that word affordable because let's face it. Let's face it. The cheapest house you can have today, the cheapest house you can what's the name? House you can build today, basic house you can build. I don't think you can build any house for less than 25 million. I doubt you can build any house, bungalow for less than 25
Like a
million.
three-bedroom bungalow.
Exactly, 25 million. And how many people can afford 25 million? How many people can afford 25 million? So if by your own, calculation, you've done a basic house of 25 million, you consider it affordable. But how many people can afford 25 million homes? Definitely not many teachers, not many, not many people that do small scale stuff. So affordability is relative, and it's very, very difficult to achieve. Okay. So government can come in, they can do some sort of I think government may be able to play a role in it. If government gives freelance to maybe some developers, and they try to they get them to build some things that get it to people at subsidized rates, and make sure that the whole process of allocating it is transparent. Not that some politicians are giving it to their family members or something and all of those things. Then maybe that can help in the housing deficit. But private developers, there's little we can do because, I'm not going to build the house for, 40 million and sell it for 30 million because,
Yeah.
I want to breach, housing debt. Government be able to government, they have the land, we can achieve that. But, for us in the commercial space, yeah, I also to try to be more friendly in our prices, try to, our prices are slightly lower than market prices because, we do not mind, little profit, but at the same time, we are not going to say our houses are affordable to the lower class. At the end of the day, it's still people that are doing well that can afford our houses.
You've been known to make strategic calculations for elections in the past. What's your opinion regarding this coalition coming up and the opposition?
I mean, it's quite interesting and exciting, reminding me of the EPC of 2015, and quite interesting, and looking forward to how the whole thing will go. The truth is that politicians, Nigerian politicians are the same. I mean, let's not deceive ourselves. Most of them are the same. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of them that would do, maybe quite slightly better than the other. I personally thought Buhari was going to be the man that was going to sort of radical change in the whole thing based on his experience as a military head of state in 1984-85. It was quite disappointing that I didn't see any form of radical reform in his time. He did some things on infrastructure, but I didn't see any form of radical reform. And after that time, I felt like, I don't think anybody is going to do any miracle anywhere. But if you have little gains here and there, there's nothing bad in that. And like one of the spokesman of the coalition group, Mr. Bolaji, like what he said he said, we're not going to import politicians from Ghana. The same politicians we're going to use for whatever it is. I mean, the coalition government, I think they have some. It's all about power. There's nothing wrong. The politicians are out to get power. There's nothing wrong in that. Great administrator. I don't think anybody without is key in the administration and governance in particular, especially when it comes to areas of maybe infrastructure and all of those things. I think I have some personal respect for Peter Obi himself. He's a guy that I feel like uh, you may, of course, maybe not the same guy everybody is painting, but I think I've met him personally 4 times and I think I saw some humility in him, even outside politics. I saw some, a man that appeared to be quite, humble, and that's a good asset for government. Atiku definitely desperate for power, but at the same time, you can't really the fact that he's a guy that sometimes brings, the best of people. Some of the guys that were highly performing in the Obasanjo era, some of them were introduced to him by Atiku. And but don't let us forget the fact that APC too, they've got their own good guys. I mean, some of the good reforms, this tax reform, you might have seen my tweet. I boldly supported it because that was my feed, and I saw the provisions what they were doing, and everything at the end of the day, I can support businesses. So all sides have their good side, have their bad sides, and I mean, I'm not expecting anything radical from the coalition if they get into power. I'm not expecting anything radical from them, but let's see how things go. Let's see how things go. Common man on the street, many people are very, disgruntled. Prices of things have gone up, and most of those things arose from the double policies of the president in late 2023. Talking about the, subsidy removal on fuel, as well as the, effects, devaluation, which led to skyrocketing prices of things, and those prices are actually more, especially for fuel. Those prices were more of like the market prices. We've been subsidized before, and now we, are trying to pay the market. Are we that understand the economics of those things might be able to see things from the angle of, that was normal thing to do. Whether the current ruling government, whether the coalition is going to turn Nigeria into, don't think anyone of them is going to do it. Most of them are politicians, they're just looking for power, but we see glimpse of public service in some of these guys, and yeah, I mean, it might be, let's see how things pan out. And for now, I think it's too early for anybody to make the call.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Jarus. I can see we've gone way past our time, and I'd like to round up by asking the final question I like to ask all my guests, which is if you could go back with everything you know today, if you could go back to say 10 years to give you an advice to yourself from 10 years ago with everything you know today, what would you be saying to yourself? Would you be doing anything differently?
I think I should have gone to business much earlier. I mean, personally, I feel like I should have gone to business much earlier. Um, I feel like, yeah, I think that's the only thing I can talk of. Maybe I should have gone to business much earlier because in my industry, I see a lot of guys that some of them even younger than I am, and some of them having not having as much user clout as I do, and they are doing better simply because they started earlier. And I'm coming to the industry at a time where um, there are a lot of players in the space, and I saw a trend in my industry where people that started, I went to real estate in 2016 to 2019, doing very, very well. We are not doing badly ourselves. We started in 2022, but maybe if I had started a little bit earlier, would have been much better than what we had at the moment. That's one thing I put on it. So I would say that, start, probably have to, 9 to 5 is good, and you can even have the rest of your career in it. It's okay. There are a lot of people that are doing well, a lot of people that are doing well 9 to 5, but if you want to do business, you probably just think of starting much earlier.
Thank you very much, Jarus, for your time today. It's been a very interesting session, and I have obviously learned a little bit more about you and also about the industry, politics, and all. Thank you. I appreciate your time coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. Nice joining you and hoping to, maybe see you next time in London.
Awesome. Thank you. So, guys, this is the end of today's edition of the podcast, and I hope you've learned a thing or two from the conversation with Jarus. Thank you very much, as always, and I hope to see you soon.